Hi, and welcome to this AI and C# video on cost of running the Agent framework and in general free LLM offerings. Because if you're on a very tight budget, of course you don't want to pay too much, or you might not have done the research on how much does this actually cost. So if you are very, very tight budget, free might be the right way. And I will also at the end show you a little on how much it actually cost me to run this channel and all the experiments I do on it. So we have, of course, offline models if you don't want to pay. I tend to not use offline models, but that's because my machine doesn't have a graphic card. I don't play games. So I don't have a powerful enough graphic cards to run most of the offline models in a meaningful manner. I have videos about all the offline models, Ollama, that can run the Ollama models and others as well. Foundry Local from Microsoft that can do something similar. And Onyx, where it is that you take a model as a file and run it that way. So you can, of course, do offline. It doesn't cost you extra. But if you are on such a tight budget, you probably also don't have a machine that are powerful enough for the offline models. Could be you have, but that could be a factor as well. So I tend to stay with the online models. And here is the models or the providers that I have used so far where I don't put any credit cards in. I put a credit card in OpenRouter just as a disclaimer, but they have free models where they don't charge me for them as well. So OpenRouter is one of the ones you can go to because yes, they offer all the models, even the big ones like ChatGPT, and they more or less do every kind of model that you can ever imagine. But they offer free models as well. So there's various models down here, the NVIDIA models, the ZAI models, the OpenAI, Minimax, and so on and so forth. And when you go into, for example, the open source of ChatGPT, you can see they put in :free. So they have it without rate limits, but then they have this :free version that you can run for free without any cost, but with rate limits, of course. So OpenRouter is probably the one I would use for free. Another one is GitHub Models. GitHub Models is fairly okay, but they are a bit disingenuous on how this works, because it looks like, hey, I can use all the OpenAI models. And that is actually not true. If you try to use them against their API, you are being told that it's not available. Because what is actually essentially happening is that these are paid models using Azure OpenAI. So I find it a bit disingenuous that they do that. But you can definitely go with the Microsoft models, the Phi models, or, for example, DeepSeek, and that is absolutely free. It tends to be quite slow. I have seen the rate limits are fairly high, but it is an option. But I just find OpenRouter to be a better free option. There's also things like Cohere, Cerberus, and others that offer things for free, and there's several of them out there, but they often offer one or two models for free, and the rest is paid. Cohere being they have their own models, so such things are also optional, and they often just work with the OpenAI spec, so they're very easy to play with and work around, but with heavy rate limits or very few models to choose from. Hugging Face is the complete opposite. They have like 11,000 different models to choose from. And I find it very, very tricky to understand which of these can actually be worked in a real chat client, because it is so difficult to figure out all the things that are here. Yes, they have various filters, but figuring out if they work or not is very difficult for me. But you can run them online with some fairly heavy rate limits. And then, of course, there's the Ollama and Foundry Local, where you download some software and then run the models locally. All this and more I have in my GitHub sample for this YouTube channel. And so if you're interested in any of these, you can go and look how Onyx work, go and look how Ollama work, GitHub Models, Foundry Local, Cerberus, Cohere, Hugging Face, and Open Router, which is my favorite when it comes to free. So go grab that. They all have instructions on how to get going. But honestly, I don't go with the free models, and it's not because I just want to pay a lot of money. It's more the fact that if you sit and do this on your own, just playing around, and you can imagine me sitting almost every day making videos, I would probably spend a lot of money on LLMs because I'm using OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. And that's actually not the fact. So here I'm sharing what I actually pay for the last 10 months. So you can see that 10 months ago I paid $0.6 for a month, then 0.9. Then there was a big one on 5.65, which is the highest I ever received. That was because I actually did some code interpreter, so it's actually not the model itself that cost money, but I did a lot of videos about code interpreters and used them a bunch before they were ready for recording. So that's the reason why this is so high. But else you can see the highest number I get up to is less than $3 for an entire month. So yes, I might don't want to pay a lot of money, but I'm ending up not doing that. So my preferred way is to pay a little, like these. What is it? $20 for 10 months, $2 on average, perhaps. I find that to be okay for getting a better experience, not hitting rate limits all the time, not needing to switch models because the free models go out in and out of service and so on. So to me, this is a much better way. And as you can see here, it's not breaking my bank, at least, to pay $1 to $2 a month on AI services. So this would be my recommendation. But again, if you want to be totally free, these are at least the options I have tried, and there are many more out there. So if you want to hunt it down, you can definitely still do AI research and play with it like what I do on this channel for absolutely no money. So with that, thank you. See you in the next one.